The dark side of full-time RV living. You've seen the videos. You've seen everywhere that they're lying to you. Which isn't really true, actually. They are lying to you. The lifestyle is really cool. There's some really cool things about the lifestyle, but there is a certain dark side. And in this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of those things, but it's not going to be as dramatic as like, the dark side of full-time RV living. Yeah, it'll be dark, but there are some solutions. I've done full-time RV living for over 3 years now, so I have some perspective on the whole thing. And the thing of it is, all of the dark elements really come down to you. It comes down to your perspective on things. Like, you watch so many of these videos, these YouTubers, and they have these amazing layouts and setups. And you look, if you were to have some of these, in some cases, you're spending a huge amount of money. Or they've got a really simple setup and whatnot, and it took them a long time to dial that in. And so it takes a lot of work to really set up a small system. But once you get that dialed in, it's really cool. But there are things that get old. Like, sometimes you're boondocking, you have to poop in a bucket. That gets old. Or you have to use a lot less water, and that gets old. Or you don't get as much power as you want, and that gets old. So there's all these little things that kind of can get old. It's small space, you got to put things away like right away after you use them, because otherwise things get messy really, really quick because it's a small space. That gets old. So those are all just like little things that get old. But I think the overall, like, this expectation, I'm in Cape Disappointment State Park, which is perfect because the name itself makes it so you're not going to be expecting too much. But in the lifestyle, in the full-time RV lifestyle, you start to expect a whole lot because of all the videos. And really, the dark side and the expectations, they're as varied as the people that do it. Like, each person's experience is very different. And so your dark side is going to be different from my dark side. And the next person, the next person, the next person, and on and on. But in general, it all, again, comes back to you. Because if you're able to, go and have fun by yourself, and then spend huge swaths of time by yourself, then I think in general, you'll have a lot of fun. And it will be an awesome experience. I mean, even if you don't, if you're able to, move through that, and get some grit of, being alone and just sitting in silence, not having to be entertained, then I think it's awesome. And that dark side kind of turns to a good side. One of the biggest things I've run up against is the stupidness. It just seems stupid. It goes along with the, creating on YouTube or being an entrepreneur. You run into this idea that, okay, what you're doing is just stupid. It just doesn't seem to be working. It's, because you'll have great highs and great lows, and you'll go and then just be nothing. And so there's all this stuff that happens, right? And it's just from experiencing more life than when you're in a sticks and bricks. And I think that's a big part of the dark side, is that you realize how much life there is to experience and how much you're not experiencing. And so when you do, it gets kind of overwhelming, and you have to juggle it with, let's say, doing remote work. And, that's much like, when you're in college and you go, I'm going to go to the beach and study. It doesn't always work out so well because the beach is overwhelming and you just give up on reading that book or studying or whatever it is you need to do. And there's also just these moments of like, what am I doing? This is so stupid. All the rest of the world seems normal. And here I am, doing what and why? And then you move along and it just seems stupid. And then you get to see and have some amazing experience. And then you go, oh, that's why I'm doing it. But along the way, sometimes it's just going to feel stupid. So really, the whole idea of there being a dark side to anything, well, it all has to do, of course, with perspective. And if you have the perspective that you can pretty much do anything and you can get around anything, then you'll do just fine. But if you start thinking that things need to be perfect and you're not used to being alone for long swaths of time, or you don't have the resiliency to like deal with mice that might come in or leakage. And that's another big problem, is that, of course, with RVs, you got to keep up with the repairs. If you don't, you're going to be in big trouble, especially with the roof, any type of leakage. You want to take care of it. And the condensation, really. See, the thing of it is, you got to stay ahead of any mold issues that might come up, right? And that can be like a full-time thing. It can be a problem, right? If you stay ahead of that thing, you'll be fine. And the other part of that is if you start the lifestyle and you enjoy it and you really get into it, then what happens is you develop the muscles to get through any sort of situations. And any of those dark sides that come up, well, they become just part of the whole adventure. And it becomes less of a problem and more of like just part of the whole thing. Then you suddenly realize, that you can effectively say there is no real dark side, because you can turn the dark side to the light, and then of course it'll go back again. But it's all, part of the cycle. And so, yes, there's dark sides, but that's part of the development that you get from doing the lifestyle. I think in general, it actually develops your spirit and who you are a lot more than regular life. You start to slow down time effectively in many different situations. It'll speed up too, but in a lot of situations, you're in new places. And those new places make you look and see things and do things differently than if you start to just, everything's habitual and everything looks like it usually does. And then time goes really fast because you don't notice things anymore. But when you're moving from another place to another place to another place, that keeps you alive to all these different elements. And that slows things down. You start to realize a lot more that you wouldn't otherwise. And so that's part of like seeing life anew and whatnot. But that can also be problematic too, because you really, really have to have a core setup, a core like philosophy, and also habits and routines that are core, that stay with you no matter where you are or what you're doing. You have to have those routines and core, because otherwise, at least in my experience, you'll get derailed. It's easy to get derailed and get lost in your mind, and you start thinking this or that and the other thing. But if you keep some specific routines, because when you're moving from place to place, that disrupts all your normal routines. And you might not be able to go to the same gym. You might not be able to do the same walk. You might not be able to do any number of things. But if you keep that core, then despite all those changes, that core keeps you going. And this is especially helpful, of course, when you're working remotely, full time. But it also, there's this sweet spot where you can dance with the changes, still have that core, and you notice things in life. And it's like a symphony of just amazing things that happen. And then things crash, and then, you deal, and it goes back again. And a lot of times you're going to have to deal with those moments yourself. There's always, sometimes you'll make friends around you, or you'll have family that you call or whatever. But in general, you're really going to have to deal with those moments yourself. You're going to have to dig down deep, find that resiliency, and keep on going. So, and you develop a lot of that along the way. But if you don't have that initially, it can be tough. So for the long periods of time that you'd, spend alone, you have to pretty much go out of your way in some cases to really meet people. If you don't want to be around people, it's pretty easy to do. But the thing of it is, being an introvert myself, I like my time alone, but I need that time also with other people. And it's not always easy to find. I mean, it's strange that way, because you get into this mode and then you don't really reach out and meet people, because you just get into a mode. So it's really easy, a little too easy, to stay isolated. One of the things that I found is looking for events. meetups or van life events or RV events. There's any number of, escapee events, any number of things. And, some of them, it's cool when you can get to those. And sometimes, I end up being budgetarily minded, and so I won't go to some of these because they usually cost a little chunk of change. But that's okay because you can meet some amazing people. And there are some free events, which are a lot of fun, So that's one of the things that I've been looking towards, kind of balancing out this alone aspect, which is the darker side. You will spend those swaths of time alone. But if you offset it, if you can balance it and offset it by events or meeting up with family and friends, it actually goes a lot better. And when you find yourself like thinking, no, I don't need to do that, it's really important, I think, to remain healthy by just doing it anyway. Like, I don't want to meet up, I don't want to do this. Go and do it anyway. It's really part of, it's like taking vitamins. It's like, go and do it anyway. You'll have fun. And it's better to remain healthy, have that healthy balance between being alone and being with people. Because on the whole lifestyle is pretty bent towards the solitude part of it. Okay, here's another possible solution for you. And the whole parameter of things, when you're starting out, one of the best things I think you can do is basically write down exactly why you're doing the full-time RV living lifestyle. Because when you do, you'll have to go back to it and remind yourself and reconnect with that passion for the lifestyle. Reconnect with the reasons why you're doing it. Because it's kind of like when you're taking that 20-mile hike, right? And you get halfway through and you're like, oh boy, I want to go back. When is this done? And even when you're going back, you're like, oh geez, you want it to be done. And there will be times when you want the whole thing to be done. But it's not so easy. Which, by the way, you should also have an exit plan of some sort where you can easily exit if you need to. Have a plan B that you can exit out of the lifestyle in some way, shape, or form. Might be on a person's couch. You don't know. But whatever it is, be sure to have a plan. But anyway, when you have that written down, you can reconnect with it. And you will need to reconnect with it because you'll get to these situations that are just they're no bueno. They're no bueno. And you'll have to pull yourself through. And one of the best ways to do that is to remember why you're doing the lifestyle in the first place. So definitely have that written down. Have some way, a picture, some memento, some, couple paragraphs that you've written down. You reconnect, and then you can keep on going. Remember why you're doing it and keep on going. Always reconnect and keep on going. Yeah, that's kind of like the dark side. The dark side is you. And if you can be with you, and if you can, be open to things just happening differently, things not always being the same, then I think you can have a lot of fun. And the biggest thing I think is that the lifestyle itself is not forever. It's going to be for a certain period of time, and it's going to be this moment in your life that shapes some things for you. And then you move on from it. I don't know that there's a lot of people, just like with YouTube, people doing YouTube, they do it for a long while, and then they move on, they pivot and do something else, and so on. It's one of those things that's really enlivening, but it takes a lot out of you at the same time, but it's so rewarding. But eventually, for whatever reason, any number of things, I haven't met too many people who have gone the full length of the lifestyle. They end up, planting down somewhere. It's a little bit easier, and you can plant down somewhere. And at first it's like a landing pad, one landing pad, and then you do things, and then slowly you just, I don't know. Who knows? But if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you next time.